Thank you for staying with us. The show is still Report Desk Africa on News Central Television. Now we're talking narcotics and hard drugs at the moment. And the first time I heard of laughing gas, I think I saw it in a movie where people inhaled it and actually began to laugh. I thought it was a joke because of the way they were laughing, but things are taking a serious turn in Nigeria. Now, nitrous oxide, otherwise known as laughing gas, is a colorless gas that is commonly used as sedative and pain relief by medical professionals for patients undergoing medical procedures. Turning away from its original purpose, it is fast emerging as a drug in demand in Nigeria by young partygoers and fun seekers to achieve cheap intoxication. Now, the gas is often transferred from its canisters into balloons, from which it's been inhaled for euphoric effects. Now, in response to this, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency in Nigeria, called NDLEA, has begun the clampdown on those involved in the illegal sale and use of nitrous oxide, following the analysis of the effect of those who abuse the substance, which include things like dizziness, disorientation, headaches, lightheadedness, tainting spells, hallucination, of course, falling unconscious, and suffocating from lack of oxygen, and other neurological complications, especially psychiatric symptoms. Now, News Central's Adeshewa Odushoga put together this intriguing and interesting report that teaches us more about laughing gas and how people have been using, or should I say, misusing it here in Nigeria. Do take a look.
From the discovery of one substance to another, the trend of drug addiction and abuse among Nigerian youth appears unending and worrisome. In the past, there have been cases of abuse of cough syrup and painkillers, and now the attention is gradually shifting to the abuse of nitrous oxide, also known as laughing gas, spreading like wildfire. Nitrous oxide is a colorless gas often used by medical professionals to sedate patients undergoing minor medical procedures or as pain relief.
We use it during anesthesia. So when you want to do surgery, it's that gas that you can use to put someone to sleep.
But now it appears there are other use and demands for nitrous oxide in the market, as more young partygoers use it as a party drug to get intoxicated after they infuse this gas into balloons, from where it's then inhaled for euphoric effect.
When people take this kind of thing and the brain senses this whole false all feeling, which is that all falls of euphoria and all of that, it's very, very much pleasurable.
This new trend generated reactions and concerns from some online health influencers.
It's toxic to your brain and the spinal cord. If you look at that trend, I attach stories of people that had paralysis. It can cause anemia and drop the blood cells, coupled with things like sudden death, heart attacks, and a lot of that. So it's a lot of things. And I think we need to be worried.
Following the outburst, the chairman of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, retired Brigadier General Mohammed Buba Marwa, in a statement, directed all commands and formations of the agency to clamp down on the illegal sale of the product.
A circular already issued to all our commands and formations today, directing them to look out for this either at all the entry points, at the seaports, at the airports, intra-city, intercity highways, and within our communities. Anywhere they are found, they have a responsibility to seize them, especially those in possession illegally or those who are who are using it illegally.
Health practitioners have warned that the dangerous use of nitrous oxide can lead to the depletion of body's vitamin B12 levels, permanent brain damage, spinal injuries, and other neurological complications, especially psychiatric symptoms. Adeshewa Odushoga reporting for News Central.
Interesting, quite intriguing. Now, I've seen people who have said that they went to parties and saw other people, partygoers, blowing balloons without even knowing the content of those balloons. Quite intriguing and very interesting, though. Now, joining us to discuss this is a virologist, Dr. Kolawole Oladipo, is reaching us from Osun State in Nigeria. Dr. Oladipo, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me this platform.
All right, Dr. Gadibo. Now, recently, a video of young people inhaling gas from, inflated balloons went viral on social media, while many wondered what could get people high in balloons. I mean, I'm one of those who's been wondering. Others think it's simply the chemicals that are made that are in those balloons. Now, it's not what we think, as we've come to understand. I beg your pardon. We see now that it's nitrous oxide. The big question here is, what sort of level of enjoyment or satisfaction, as the case may be, can be hoped to be achieved, or or to be enjoyed by just inhaling nitrous oxide, or as it goes by its street name, laughing gas?
Well, like you've rightly said, that there is no that enjoyment to say. I call it fake enjoyment because it only inactivates vitamin B12, and that enhances the release of dopamine, that you feel high, you feel that you are happy, you feel elated. So it's not natural, it's induced. Though that the release of dopamine happen naturally in the body system, but this is a situation that is not original, it is induced. And there's nothing that you induce under abnormal condition. From the commentary you ran last few minutes ago, it's covered that it is used in medical situations by health professionals, but under supervision, under appropriate dose. But this one we are talking about now, there is no dose. You can feel that you can use it to any time you have the effect, and continuously or continually the effect is being felt. So it's a fake effect that is seen, just making you feel happy, feel high, then you can feel among that, oh, this is what I'm doing.
Okay, doctor, now, I mean, we understand that when addiction comes in, a lot of times people are oblivious to the side effects. Can you tell us some of the side effects of this if done continuously?
Yeah, I think one of the side effects that you've talked about, you've said a lot the other time. We have the negative effect. We have transient dizziness. You feel dizzy some of the time. Then we have what we call impaired memory, then loss of balance. That is why you can see that it is those who use it, majority of them don't want to use it while standing. They want to use it where they are sitting down because they know there can be loss of balance. And if not properly used, it can interfere with the intake of oxygen, and that can lead to anemia. Anemia is shortage of oxygen flowing in the blood system because there is an amount of oxygen needed to circulate through our body system. So if such is done, it's going to reduce it because the gas will also react with other components of the body system, and that is why it's prone to what we call the damage of a nervous system. So, and when it damages the nervous system, some of the time it's irreversible if not treated on time, early enough, because at that time you are not using it under a specific dose. If it is a medical setup, they have considered a lot of factors looking at it that, oh, this thing should be used at this time. And after the surgery, you are still under medical watch. But this one for pleasure, for recreational, is not under anybody's watch. It's not under anybody's care. You are not using it under any kind of business. You just feel like if you continue using it. And that is why the impaired memory and cognition is very, 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 and it even affects the rate at which the brain responds. It affects the way at which the body responds, the brain responds to stimulus around cause.
Thank you. Now, we know that it's not the first time that youths have abused drugs meant for medical purposes. However, we know that nitrous oxide is a gas, not in solid form, that is inhaled inhaled recreationally, so to speak, for the rapid but short-lived feeling of euphoria, like you rightly mentioned. Now, you've also talked about the symptoms. My own question is, are any of these symptoms reversible at some point? Or is it that once they begin to experience and portray these symptoms, it's just a downhill slide from there on?
Yeah, if you discover from the last thing I made mention of, when we see the symptoms is likely irreversible if not treated on time. And that is where the dose comes in, because you see somebody exposing to a dose that the body cannot sustain. And that is why we call it abuse. You know, when we talk about drug abuse, we quickly label nitrous oxide, some other drugs like that. Even if you are using paracetamol in a wrong way, it's drug abuse, because it's going to get to a time that your body cannot take that dose anymore. So once they are using it and it's not medically certified to be used, it's not under the legally permitted situation. But this one, you see people using for recreational, it's not legally. Though some countries allow it, where some countries do not allow it. So once it is not used under a particular dose and that is used continuously, like we have seen, definitely, and there is no treatment occur, some of these damages are irreversible. So, and that is one of the things we are trying to do now in order to sensitize the community, to let them know that this what they are doing is actually wrong. It's not good for their health. It's not good for our community. It's not good for our nation. So we need to curb it. And that's why you see that the NDLEA have made a quick response to these and making sure that there are men and out there looking for those who are selling this kind of gas illegally.
Okay, doctor, I mean, still talking about the youth and the influence to do this, do you think that, like you said, they're still looking for those selling it illegally? Do you think that they have like a backdoor access to these things? Because we see them using it in clubs and even in their houses and all. And, you know, what is the grand way at the end of the day to regulate even the backdoor access?
I think one of the ways to regulate this is that we have a system on ground. When drugs come into the country, what kind of drug is coming in, then what kind of there's a procedure by NDLEA at the airport, at the seaport, at the land border to actually monitor what kind of drug is coming in. By the time such is known, it's not that this drug cannot come into the country, but you have to come in legally, have some required papers that need to be accompanying that drug. So that is that. Then we have to hunt different outlets where it's possible for this drug to be sold. And another thing that we need to do is that all these are recreational clubs, if it is known that it is illegal for such drug to be found in any recreational center, that such the owner of a recreational center will be prosecuted under the law, then it will be easier for us to curb it and reduce it. Because when you talk about drug in a community, it's not something that will be totally eradicated, but it can be reduced to the barest minimum so that the effects will not be so felt in our community henceforth.
Doctor, finally now, besides NDLEA, I know all of us have a responsibility of controlling the use, the sale, and the abuse of drugs within the community, particularly amongst the youths. Besides the NDLEA, what's the medical society, medical family, medical association generally doing to curb not just the use of laughing gas, but other drugs that are being abused? I know that at some point there was a law that certain medication should not be sold across the counter. In some places, that rule or that law has, will I say, exactly has relaxed a little bit. In some other places, it's still being held high. But generally, what can the medical association, the medical community do to curb drug abuse? It's really, really getting out of hand in recent days.
Yeah, I think I will not share from your perspective or add to what you have said. From other different occasions, I've had the opportunity to talk like this. I do say that this is the work of everyone in the community. Here, the different body of medical association can come up and talk about it. The problem I have is that why do we have to wait until we see problem? There is an adage that we say that prevention is better than cure. How many times have we come online, go on YouTube, thank God for all those influencers that are doing their best, look at telling people about potential risk of each of these drugs. not until we see that it's being abused. Before it's being abused, we need to orientate, we need to sensitize ourselves at all strata, at all levels, to let them know that if you use this kind of drug, abnormally, illegally, this is the penalty, this is the side effect of it. Even at this stage now, National Orientation Agency, this is a time to they need to come with different jingles, come with different write-up in order to sensitize. It cuts across a lot of parastatal. It's not ordinary, it's not ordinary medical again. The Ministry of Science and Technology, they have role to play. Ministry of Health have role to play. So it's an holistic approach to this. Ministry of Youth and Sport have something to play, role to play in this case. So if all of us can come together as a team and fight it together, it's going to be easier for us to reduce this. Ministry of Tourism and I don't know the other one because that's they too have role to play because in recreation rather, Ministry of Tourism and Recreation. So they have to have the role to play. So all of us seeing ourselves as brother in the church, we need to preach about it. That is no good. In our mosque, we need to preach about it. That is no good. In our institution, both secondary, primary, university, polytechnic, colleges of education, we need to talk about it. So if we keep on talking about it this way, it is pretty much easier for us to reduce the menace of this drug addiction or abuse in our society.
All right, doctor, very quickly, just before you go now, now, of course, there are some who already have been using and abusing this particular drug, talking about laughing gas. What's your own suggestion? What do you recommend? Should they be rehabilitated or should the law take its course and should these people be arrested?
I think we have 2 ways to this case. They needed to be rehabilitated and taking care of them, bringing them back to normal. And if at the cost they leave the rehabilitation center and go back to it again, that they could not overcome it or they are being addicted, finally they've made up their mind, then the law can take up the cost. But the other way around, the source where those drugs are being sold, the law have to take its cost there. So if I know that if I sell an illegal drug, this is the punishment that is attached to it, then it is pretty much easier for me to stay away from it. And if I'm being caught doing such, I should be ready to face the penalty, to face the wrath of the law. So, and we need to sensitize our youth more. We need to have more rehabilitation centers, the more that. And don't forget that we are still having a shortage of health workers. So even if those guys are there, it's going to take care of them. So it's an holistic approach. And that's why I said earlier on that prevention is better than cure. We should work on how to prevent all these cases than waiting for us to find solution to it after it has happened.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Kolawole Oladipo, for sharing your thoughts on that. And hopefully this new menace is curbed in time so that it doesn't become another problem in the society. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate for having me on the show. Thanks so much.
It's a pleasure. Well, that's basically it on this segment for the laughing gas.
Laughing gas, you know. Yeah, so as I was saying, when he came on air, the first time I heard about laughing gas many years ago was in a movie. And I see that, you know, it's been portrayed in movies several times, particularly in comedy movies, right? Little did I know that it could actually be used as some kind of drugs that people could get high on.
I think it's really sad that the youth of these days try to find highs in different things.
And every and any way.
They literally innovated, like they invent things that you never really thought. I mean, nobody would have thought that you could get high on laughing gas. But hey, here we are.
Yeah, and you know, surprisingly, like you clearly stated, in their escapade to find different levels or different levels of highs. Of course, this will not be the last. There will be more that young people will go seeking. Again, like he said, right? And it's very apt to use that adage here: prevention is better than cure. No other place to use it better. The community, the society, parents, caretakers, hospitals, schools, churches have to be proactive when it comes to drug use and drug abuse. And these days, some of these substances that are being abused come as cheap as one cannot even imagine. So they are easily accessible. And that's my basic problem. how are they so accessible?
And I think something else that the society needs to do beyond making it inaccessible to people is to also sensitize people and make them aware of these side effects.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people just want to try it as an experiment. You know, I went out the other day and I literally didn't know why until now. You know, I saw people with balloons and I'm like, what, is this a children's party? Am I missing something? But, you know, a lot of people don't even know why they're doing it. They just see people doing it and it feels good. It feels, you know, like you're a part of a society or something. But people need to be sensitized on the side effects, if not anything.
Yeah.
So they know what they're dealing with. They know what they're getting themselves into. So that way, I think that fear is good to instill that fear, to be honest.
True. It is good to instill the fear. But as we go forward too, just like I asked him, we can't rule away the fact that these things are happening. People are getting high on drugs and it's affecting them mentally and psychiatrically, if there's anything like that. So we definitely would also need more and better rehabilitation centers, so to speak. It's sad, but that's the gospel truth.
It is. Anyways, this is still Report Desk Africa, and we will be coming back for the second segment, so don't think it's over just yet. Do stay with us. We'll be right back after the break.